Hello, and welcome to an episode of the Product Artisan Podcast. I'm your host, Rajesh, and with me today, I have Hamza Farooq. Hamza is a data scientist, he's an entrepreneur, he's a startup founder, he's an angel investor, and a renowned teacher on Maven, one of the world's leading teaching platforms. Hamza, welcome to the Product Artisan Podcast.
It's a pleasure to be here, Rajesh. Thank you so much.
All right. Hamza, you have quite a bit of a background. You started your years and your career with Walmart and then at Google, working on data science and then as a research manager. Can you tell us a little bit more about those years and how it kind of shaped your career journey?
Absolutely. So I started my US career. I graduated from an MSBA program from University of Minnesota, and I got the opportunity to become one of the analytics rotation program that Walmart was starting in 2015. We were the first seven sort of data scientists that they hired, and our job was to, excuse me, our job was to work as consultants across different groups within Walmart and advise and help them build data science ecosystem all across. And that gave me the opportunity to work on so many different problems. Like we worked in supply chain, we worked in price optimization, we worked on price elasticity, assortment optimization, inventory optimization, even search engine. So we basically figured out that before semantic search came out, we figured out if you want to improve search based on location, we can use supply chain data about sales, about certain regions, and use that to basically personalized search results. For example, winter jackets in California should be a different answer from winter jackets if somebody types in New York. So that's how we started out. I spent 6 years, six wonderful years at Walmart. And then I'm feeling like I wanted to, do more. So I got this amazing opportunity to be at Google. And at Google, worked on multiple things. Started with Google Search, and it was such an amazing experience, which led unfortunately to me wanting to quit Google and start my own thing because I felt like I have exposures to so many different things. It's time to find, my own calling. And that's how I started, my own startup in mid July 2023 on Traversal. The idea was simple, one step at a time, build a company that solves problems using AI as an ecosystem. And that's what we have been doing.
Thanks, Hamza. That sounds fascinating. I just want to kind of go back to Walmart. Was this around the time when Walmart decided to really go deep in tech, right? Build a platform and really kind of take on Amazon, right? And this is kind of, Walmart doubling down on investments, right? And there was a lot of talk of a lot of investments that Walmart was making at that time. I remember they set up Walmart Labs with multiple locations across the globe. Was this around that time? And were you also part of a central team, or was this more on one division within Walmart? Can you tell us a little bit more?
So we became a central team. So we started with dedicated to one team, but then it became a pretty much Walmart Labs. I was part of Walmart Labs, and we were one central team that would serve across various divisions. And the idea was that not every department needs to have their own dedicated data science team. What departments should have is resources to help them build. So we introduced this new metric called data scientists per $1 billion revenue. Walmart is, Fortune 1. They have a huge, they have one department is another Fortune 100 company. So the serial department was huge. So the idea was that how can we sit with our customers? So our customer were the buyers, were the merchants, who would purchase the items and have them stocked into the stores. So we would talk to them about the opportunities that they saw. As simple as where should an item be placed do we have the right items in the right shelf, or the right quantity, or the right mix? And we were given that playground to experiment. And while a lot of our experiments did not result in higher revenue, they resulted in higher profits because we reduced the cost.
Right.
So it was such an, the fact that we got this was openness of Walmart, that they trusted us, to say, okay, you know what, go ahead, build what you want, and go, tell us what do you need to build these things.
Yeah, I guess the scale, and I mean, I never thought about it this way, right? The size and scale of Walmart being so massive, even if you're able to generate a small percentage of savings or improvement, it translates into massive impact, right? From a revenue or profitability perspective, as seems to be the case. I'm just curious, how did Walmart, every company has its own unique culture. How did you, get to do this experimentation kind of a culture in Walmart? Was this something top down, or was this something that you guys were given the freedom to do a lot of experimentation on? Right? It must have been hard within such a large organization.
Absolutely. I think it started with, so I don't want to take all the credit, as there was a lot of openness, and we, Walmart was very lucky to have some very amazing leaders who were not data scientists, who were scientists. So they knew the benefit of data science. So imagine, like you're working in a large company, and AI is coming. So now if the head of AI is a data scientist, they know what AI can do, which is a little beyond data science itself. So they will welcome that. So the folks that we had, they had worked on research, on different kind of ecosystems way before, even before I was born. So for them to be able to see that reflection and say, okay, no, we need to do this. You have to take this. You have to do this. This is the end of, this is the benefit, and this is what you're going to miss out if you don't do that. So we were given a very small playground to start with, where if we made, the biggest loss would not be catastrophic, or it would not be so bad that it would cause us to like shut down the entire Walmart. But we started very small, and then we kept growing and growing. And I remember when I was leaving Walmart, that team was 107 or 110 people from 7 people, and I was
Right.
responsible for hiring half of them also. So I got the opportunity to learn operations about Walmart and apply that through data science. So the leadership trusted us to do that because we wanted to make a difference. And I think the best thing is that it's a data scientist, is not a machine learning engineer. The work of a data scientist is to understand the data and the business to build models. And that's exactly, I think, what the data science team at Walmart did for the longest time.
And did you run into challenges? I know in the past, at least, data science team, the biggest complaint is a lack of access to data, or they
Yeah.
have data and it's all dirty and it's right, it's inaccurate, it's incomplete, and they have to spend a lot of time with data cleansing, etc. Was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was that your
Oh, yeah.
experience as well?
I
Yeah.
think, we almost like the most rare people in Walmart were people who were data owners. We used to call them data owners. They would like, they knew about Walmart data, and like what they knew, less than 1% people knew of 1% of their knowledge. So we used to literally go and sit with them. So we used to call Walmart the biggest mom and pop store in the world because it was still very homely. So I started my career with Bentonville office, which is their home office, and over there you got to know the person, and as you got to know the person, they would help you, because there was a lot of different space. Like, I'll give you an example. Walmart has a museum row. They have mainframes from 30-40 years ago that are running operations for countries, and some people don't know what they do because they're all trained in COBOL, and the wiring has been soldered in. It's a very prehistoric thing, but it's still there, and they're running operations. So we identified people. I still remember Anthony Kuhn was this one guy. He was just amazing with data, and I would just camp outside his room, and we became friends over time because like, he would just tell me about data. So there was a lot of relationship based ecosystem in Walmart that helped us early on success.
And what was the biggest impact from your perspective, right, that you and your team had? You gave the example of a precursor to a semantic search. I mean, this, I assume, predates generative AI, but in the time that you were there and when you left, what according to you was the project or initiative that had the biggest business impact?
So assortment optimization, it might seem it's a very boring idea. Okay, what the hell is assortment optimization? But assortment optimization was a very big driver. Like, one of the things that we won and put our company on the map, or so sorry, put our team on the map in Walmart, was assortment optimization, in which we figured out for a given shelf, what are the right items, the right quantity, and the right location for that. And we automated that at a store level. So if you think about it, there are 5,000 stores. Each store has hundreds of departments. So one person cannot make 5,000 planograms, or two people, 10, like, it takes forever. So we automated that process. We said, based on the foot traffic and the purchase pattern that these stores have, we're going to recommend the kind of the specific items. So for instance, the store right in front of the home office was not a destination store. So we sort of, I mean, it's very basic, but we reduced the SKUs for yogurt because people did not want to experiment. They wanted to pick up the most common because they were leaving for home of from Walmart home office, and they would pick up the most basic versions, like the most frequently picked up yogurt boxes. However, the one that was closer to people where people lived, that one required more variety. So why does it matter? Because there's an acquisition cost of bringing an item to a different location. And if you have items which don't sell, they add to your inventory also.
Right.
So, and we were given the chance to work through A/B testing through that.
And this is at scale. Again, you're talking about 5,000 stores. I assume it's across countries. It's urban versus rural, right? There's a lot different demographics. So was it up to the store manager to accept the recommendations that you were making, or this was kind of something that was enforced top down? And what was the result?
This was so I want to say that, at the time when I was leaving, I think we were running this experiment at 150 stores or something like that. We built an A/B testing year. The first store run A/B testing. Usually all A/B testing is done on, online. This was a store run.
Right.
So we built this. So I think it was 150 stores. How did we make it happen? We ran simulations and went to not the store managers, but to the merchants to say them, listen, this is what it looks like. This is what we are recommending. And it's almost like they were in the room when we were building the product. They were in the room when we were building the product, and that sort of this, added to that. Okay, we were not seen as a separate team. We were seen as the part of the entire ecosystem. So that's why, because the store managers did not know that this is different from another store now. For them, this was, hey, this is your planogram for the next quarter. The only bottleneck was from merchant to the store manager. It was not personalized for every store.
I have a kind of a contrarian question a little bit, right? And I think I like the definition of data scientist that you gave earlier, which is to bridge the gap between business and data, right? And how you kind of sat with data owners and how you made decisions together and kind of partnered. In the era of generative AI, right, there are voices that say, well, we really don't need all the data scientists. Machine learning is dead. You hear kind of these voices. As somebody who has lived or lives in both worlds, right? You've been a data scientist, you are a Gen AI, engineering leader and a startup founder. What is your perspective on this?
To be honest, I see them as add-ons and support. So Lovable has not replaced any engineer yet, to the best of my knowledge. Lovable is a great tool to bring your idea to life, to get more done. So I see these tools as getting more stuff done. Like, before Gen AI came out, there were these self-service models that you feed your data and, auto ML and all of that.
Yeah, I remember auto ML. Yeah.
We have beaten auto ML every single time because they pick up academic data sets as demos. If you're going to start with demos, which are academic data sets, you're not going to get anywhere because they do not have the noise. They do not depict the real world, right? So we would get, IBM, we had the biggest SAP HANA implementation in Walmart. And an intern was able to beat the performance of that model because they understood feature engineering better. So if I have an ecosystem, it says, hey, can you do feature engineering, can you run 3 different simulations of feature engineering and find out what works for me? Given my understanding of the data or my understanding of the business operations, I can do more now, but I don't see it as replacing me because you're left a lot, there's a lot left. And data science and all these things are based on historical data. For instance, when COVID came, all our models went haywire, right? Toilet paper when sales went through the roof, other things went through the roof. We were not ready for it. And guess what? The model that came 1 year after that, they all had to be adjusted, right? So yes, it can get you started. It can run the miles for you, but I don't think that you should think about replacing it because you don't know where it goes wrong and what assumption it has made incorrect, which is going to break your entire ecosystem.
So basically the takeaway is data scientists still have a role. It's just that they have a lot of these tools and models now to augment their function, right? But the roles continues to remain critical. Let's talk a little bit about your time at Google, right? And obviously it was a long tenure at Walmart. What exciting things did you work on at Google? What were your kind of key takeaways or learnings from that?
So I think Google was a mammoth. I'm just gonna say this. Like when you get into Google, forget everything that you know about running companies unless you have worked in a global company. Walmart was a global company, but I was focused on US primarily. I did not think what people are doing in UK or what people are doing in India or what people are doing in something else. I think in Google, you were looking at the entire world. And there's no one strategy for the entire world. You have to think of multiple strategies. So that's one thing that I had to change my mind across. And the second thing is that the amount of technology that exists internal to Google is unbelievable. A lot of startups that have come out of Google were inspired or should have been inspired from the internal technology at Google. So a company like Glean. So they built internal company search engine. That is something that existed in Google as MoMA. Now, I'm not saying, they took direct inspiration, but I'm just saying that that was a product that existed in Google, and we used to wish that every other company should have a MoMA. And if you see Glean started out being an exact replica of MoMA.
You do hear about these tools that the FANG companies have, right?
Yeah.
And I've heard similar things at AWS. The toolkit that the developers and engineers have access to is unprecedented, and that puts
Yes.
them at a distinct advantage over others who may try to mimic the same development cycle ethos, right? Everybody wants to build like Google, everybody wants to build like Meta, but then to your point, that developer ecosystem, the tool set they have is probably light years ahead of what others have. So what problem were you trying to solve at Google, and how did that lead you to Traverse?
So so the thing is that it's very interesting because I learned a lot of data science applications at Walmart. I was always thinking about the customers and the users. So one of the projects I worked on was understanding Google user usage across like who are like everyone is uses Google, but how is Google used? Can we create segments of those customers? Is there a segment who would be, maybe let's just say, willing to pay for an ad-free ecosystem? Is there a user, what kind of different users we have, and what is the appetite, and what kind of searches they're doing? Like, I was not looking individual searches, but we were aggregating the searches to understand user pattern. And one of the things that we would look across the world is that what is the trend, like more an analytical look, and then using that to forecast what our user behavior will be in the future if we change a certain set of things. So that was the first thing that I worked on. During that time, it's very interesting that I got the opportunity to launch a course on Coursera. So I was a subject matter expert on a course which is called Advanced Analytics degree or something. It's one of the most comprehensive degrees on Coursera. I was a subject matter expert for that course, and I'm in a couple of videos of that course also. So that became another thing. Another thing that I started doing is started teaching a lot at Google. So there were internal courses at Google, external courses in Coursera. So I was involved in a lot of them. And then after working in Google Search, I wanted to build systems, like ML systems and data science models. So I moved to security at GCP.
Right.
So we were looking at who are the customers at GCP and what is the usage pattern, and if somebody asks for more quota, whether we should allow them or not given their past behavior. Because believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the ecosystem trying to break in, trying to get more, not pay for stuff. So we were sort of working on the security part of that. So I think one of the largest ML system that GCP had to look at each user. That is what I worked on. And while I was working on that, Gen AI sort of started taking over, and generative AI became cornerstone. So I figured that what I would love to do is, I was getting a lot of people calling in because I started teaching at Stanford Continuing Studies at that time. I started at UCLA also, and I was on Maven at the same time. So what that did is that I was getting a lot of inbound, a lot of people asking for things that if you can do that. So there was a lot of inbound that was coming for me from different folks, asking questions. Hey, I want to build a search engine for my company. I want to build a search engine for my customers. We want to build something like this. So that's when I decided that, I really want to experience what it's like to build a startup. And you're in the Bay Area, you startup world rubs against you. So I basically quit Google. I honestly thought, to be very honest, I would never quit Google. I wanted to continue working in Google till the end of end of life sort of thing, and try to see if I can work in Paris, I can work, work in different countries. But I just felt like it was my calling to do a startup, and we are bootstrapped for more than 2 years now. We didn't raise a single dollar from anyone. We did get a grant from Meta, but other than that, we've not given an equity of our company, and we have been running with 12 people now. And the idea was simple: solve problems for organizations rather than selling a cool product. And we've made a few pivots as we have gone along, which any startup would do. But I feel like we're getting very close to the product market fit of what we want to deliver.
So before we talk about your startup, TravelSell.ai, you kind of briefly mentioned your teaching interest in your career. And for those who don't know, Hamza has taught at multiple and continues to teach at multiple universities. He's also one of the top rated instructors on Maven. He has a couple of really highly rated courses. So tell us what's that like, Hamza, because that seems to have really taken off. I think it started during COVID, and I think with Gen AI, it's really kind of taken off where everybody who's good in AI is kind of a rock star now, right? And they
Yeah.
have their own content universe and podcasts and courses. What does it feel like to be on the inside of that? And I'm just curious, how is it different teaching students versus working professionals? Because everybody wants to get up to speed on Gen AI, right? Which is one of the reasons I think your course is quite popular as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about teaching and what makes it different or unique or challenging.
So I'll tell you an interesting story of how I started teaching. I worked so hard and so much to get into Google that by the time I reached Google, there's this joke in Google is that now that I've made it to Google, where do I reverse the link list? The idea is that once you get into Google, you actually don't do a lot of things that you've learned or you've tried to learn in the interview. So like your mind becomes sharp, and you want to keep there's an extent to watch. You can watch TV and play games and do a bunch of things. So I actually started like teaching. I started training people, like giving people feedback on how to interview. And then Google was like, listen, this is not, you should not do this because it's okay. Although I was not telling people how to get into Google, but basically Google was, listen, this is against our policy. And basically, I think before even Google said that, I had shut it down. But that led to me writing to my dean at University of Minnesota, where I graduated from. I was like, you need to update your course based on, what the industry is doing. And they were like, why don't you come, why don't you teach a course? And I was like, can I do that? And they're like, yeah. So that started sort of the thing. And then my first course sucked like big time. Like I didn't know how to teach. Like you think you know how to teach, but there's a whole way, like I would start defending myself. But what I learned over time is that teaching is this rare opportunity in your lifetime to expand your horizon on how other people think.
Mm.
So for me, 5 + 4 is 9, right? But for a lot of other people, it could be 6 + 3 or 10 - 1. So there are multiple routes to getting to an answer. And you get this rare opportunity to be exposed to that. So that's why I started, like I was always pulled into teaching. Like I think my friends and I, we were having this conversation that, let's say money is not a problem. What would you do? Like, let's just say you're not worried about money anymore,
Right.
and you had something like, would you work? And my wife looked at me and she's like, yeah, he would always teach. There's no way he's gonna quit teaching, because it's such a high that like you're working with people, you are learning more than people who you're teaching. I mean, this is a secret within, but I actually am more invigorated and more driven after I've taught, because when the questions come to you, you have to stretch your mind.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? If you want to learn, teach, right? You need to have a high degree of clarity and
Yes.
fidelity, right, to be able
Right.
to teach. I mean, you
Yeah.
need to know the concepts in and out, right? So I think there's no place to hide, essentially, right?
Yeah. So that is one superpower that most people say that that I offer, is that I can take a more complicated topic and break it down into smaller pieces, digestible pieces, such, and then it became a part of your how you talk. It's how you interact, because that you're trying to sum up things and you're trying to tell people that, just to let you know, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and then sort of people start resonating with that. You asked me one more question about student experience versus professional's experience. I would say that I really like the professional part. I'll tell you why. Because someone who's paying to be a part of an ecosystem is driven towards it. right? With the students, I get a mix of them, and no hate towards them, but there's a need versus
There's a drive,
I have to take this course to finish my degree. I need to take this course to get to a level that like I want to level up myself.
right?
So there is a lot of drive in the in the people who sign up on Maven, because what they do is that they're really really driven. They've put their own money. Some of them, yes, like organizations pay for them, which is also true. But a lot of people are driven towards, hey, I'm going to spend money. I'm spending a decent amount of money. This is an investment, and I need to see it through. And one of the best things about Maven is the course completion rate. Like, what is one thing that we have done the most? We have done opened more Coursera courses than we have ever finished,
True.
right? As opposed to Maven courses, I think if you see through, like, I think they have like 70% close rate or something. Like, people.
So why is that? Is that the engagement? Is it the
Yes.
product, the packaging? That's fascinating. So why is that?
It's a two-way road, and I'm not marketing Gagan. So I just believe in the product. I just believe in that you have a back and forth. You look forward to seeing your peers in the class. You look forward to meeting people. You have a see yourself being valued, when when you're working on an assignment, and we give feedback to people that this is, you should have done it like this, or they're learning from other people. So that is such a big drive that it allows people look forward to it. Like, I have somebody who has taken courses with me at least 6 times now.
Wow.
Right? They just say, you know what, this is my tax I have to pay to be a part of that ecosystem, because I just want to keep coming back to this.
It certainly has, I mean, I would say, the highest talent density, right? In terms of subject matter experts, instructors, great platform. But, like you said, there must be something in it that causes people to keep coming back, or I never thought about the completion rate, because we're all guilty of starting too many courses and not
Yeah,
finishing
yeah,
it.
yeah,
So that must be a great
yeah.
experience.
I mean, I'll just say that, even in Stanford SPD, the continuing studies course, I think I wouldn't even need to market the course. Like, the moment the course would open, we would get 70 people. So Stanford is really stringent on paying people. They would always, like, for all my courses, I've been paid extra because of the number of enrollments that we have gotten. So there is a strong desire for people to learn, especially in the middle management and higher, because the world is changing faster than this is the fastest change that they've seen in the world since ever. So for them, this is their internet moment, .com moment, where they have to get into this and learn as much as possible.
And do you have to spend a lot of time preparing content, or it's like you prepare content once and you just iterate? Because to your point, Gen AI and technology is changing so fast, right? So is it, and you yourself have to upskill yourself before you can train others. So is that, what does that process look like? Can you briefly describe?
So we call our course SNL, Saturday Night Live, which basically means is we are putting everything together until the very last minute, and it's not. It's by design that it's put, because we are like, the consecutive cohorts can be different also. Cohorts which are 3 months apart can be different. And then the second thing is that the army that I have behind me was helping me put it together. So usually I have, course facilitators. This is the first time that, I recently met Gabriella, who's just amazing. And we met, and this was just like, you had me at Hello. We just met, and we were like, listen, we need to teach together.
Gabriela, for those who don't know, was the former director of AI startups at Microsoft, right?
Yes.
And she's a very strong developer advocate, well known in the
Yes.
ecosystem. So I think it's a great two to tango.
Yeah. And like there's a welcome thing, we're gonna announce it today. We actually got into Lenny's newsletter. So our course has finally reached a level where we can say, hey, we're part of Lenny's ecosystem. He recommends our course, right? So that has been a great, I feel like, having Gabriella, there's another person on our team named Amna, who's a course facilitator. And it's the army that we have been working with that sort of gets us to completion.
Yeah, so Hamza, is something changing here, right? It's first of all, congrats on that milestone, right? I think it's certainly a rare club to be part of in terms of recommended products, recommended courses. How is that changing things? Are we getting to a point where now it's the brand? Obviously, You need to back that up with content and quality and output and results. But is it getting to a point where these things are more important and they build the funnel for you? You talked about inbound earlier. And for your startup, for your consulting, for your business, are we at a kind of a pivotal time, you think, in the industry in terms of how this is happening? Or is this just, happening to the top 1%? What's the takeaway here?
I would say at this point, it's a level playing field. What that means is you can start tomorrow with zero reach and you can grow very fast if you have the right product market content, right? Or content market fit, whichever, what's the definition of content fit. But if you have the right content fit, you can gain followers. And there are great examples right now. People who were behind the scenes 2 years ago are now out there and they're recognized as a new brand. So it's making people who have, people who have enjoyed that top 1% club, it's actually coming down. To be honest, I was a nobody for the very long time, or for the longest time. Yes, I would go to conferences and I would speak at conferences, but even now, I have 35,000 followers, give or take. But it's not like I'm in that 1% club myself. But I think if you continue to work hard and build quality content, you can become one of them very fast. It's the same thing as influencer market right now. People who have enjoyed being, at the top, they have to go and work with influencers now, because influencers tend to have a bigger reach than the biggest of the stars.
But the key takeaway is you still have to put out content, and that content better be good, right?
Yes.
But then you have a level playing field, and if you have a good strategy and content, you can actually go there and gain an audience, and then you can serve that audience, right, with products and services. For those of you listening, watching in, jump in. I think Hamza's story is a great inspiration, for us all to take on. I do want to talk a little bit about the startup, right? Earlier, and you exiting Google and starting traversal.ai. There's an AI startup every day, maybe even every hour.
Every hour.
That's being spun up.
Yeah.
But I think your genesis, with data science teams and building something to support data science teams makes it somewhat unique, right? As opposed to everybody's like, I have an agent for this, I have an app for that, right? Kind of a thing. So tell us, what's that journey been like? You mentioned your bootstrap, which is, again, I find it an anomaly, but also kind of refreshing to hear. Tell us how that journey is progressing and how you're making inroads with
So I think I'm just going to say this, that we do have agents too. But the only differentiation factor is, we started out as any other startup saying, oh, we will build search for you, we'll build RAG for you. My vision was to build a platform where people can build their own RAG ecosystem and so on and so forth. And we did that while it became, and I saw it become extinct over time because it was a very low barrier to entry. Although search is very complicated, search is not easy to build on. So building something which is five documents to 5 million documents is a very different ballgame. I try to play in the 5 million. So we started with that and we built, a huge customer base on that. But then as I started to work, it's funny that I would get my foot in the door with the Google and, other university names. But what resonated the most was my experience at Walmart. And that's where the idea of Olive came into being. So we have a company with the name of Traversal. It's such a difficult name to pronounce. It will not stick on people's lips. And then we started talking, and the word olive branch, because we were building data science branches, so the word olive came out to be. And what we found is that yes, companies want search engine, but they also want something to help with their structured data. We found that less than 20% of the companies which actually need a dedicated data science teams do not have a data science team. So we started reaching out to customers and saying, hey, you have a supply chain ecosystem. So think about QSRs, think about manufacturing companies, think about the fast food service chains. These are the people who are in US. These are the companies that are in US. You go talk to them, they know their problem. They don't have prediction systems to know how much they are going to produce. So we started talking to those customers and we found there was so much need for it. That at this point, we need to figure out, we're trying to get more people in because we have work that needs to be done. So we are building agents that work alongside your team, a non-technical person, so that when you have questions, they can build products or they can build forecasting models for you. So we right now, I think we have 4 or 5 different offerings. Have a forecasting model, time series forecasting model. It's almost like an auto ML, but what we have done differently is it's a bit of a detail. We don't teach the LLM the code. We have created repositories of best practice code. So when you want to build an ML code, yes, you can build it in ChatGPT today also. But the code that we'll give you is the industry level code that we have curated ourselves. So we're starting like 4 or 5 different things. We'll say we'll build you a forecasting model, we'll build you an anomaly detection model, we'll build you classification model, and we'll give you a customer insight or clustering model.
So is this would you describe this then as a co-pilot for perhaps not data science teams, but
Yes.
teams that were adjacent to data scientists who couldn't, build these models, right? They lack the technical expertise, but now we're able to scale data science teams by offering Olive, right? And they're able to leverage it as a co-pilot to build these models. Is that a fair
Absolutely.
assessment? Okay.
Absolutely. And that's how we basically say, listen, we're not VC funded. We can sell whatever we want to sell. So we have 3 offerings. We start with upskilling and strategic advisory. Because a lot of companies are like, tell me what Gen AI can do for me beyond the chat GPT of the world, right? So we start with upskilling, advisory, helping them learn about AI. The second part is we have products. Hey, we have Olive if you need this product. And the third part is we augment and we work as their team member.
And you described Olive as an agent operating system, which to me means there's more than one agent, right?
Yeah.
Or type of agents. So is this a platform that you offer to enterprises and then say, hey, you can build an ensemble of or a suite of agents, or is this an agent that you give them that has access to the libraries that you talked about through which they can build a variety of
Yeah. So think of
models?
Lovable. So if you think of Lovable, right? Lovable is for websites. Think of our product like Lovable for data science. So when you write a question like find me the top performing items that we sell and build forecasting model for them and tell me the answers to them. So it will, instead of just running creating code, like it basically do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, it builds out code for each one of them, and then it executes all that code, does error handling for that, and then gives you an output based on that.
And does this have integrations? Does Olive have integrations with all kinds of data
Yes.
sources, data lakes, data warehouses,
Yes.
bases,
So
and things like that?
so I'm just gonna say this: we do, but we also don't, because I'm like, yes, we have the connectivity, the native
Right.
connectivity to BigQuery, to AWS, to Postgres, but the idea is that we try to stay away from MCP unless the customer says, no, I have an MCP server that we can connect. So, the backend connectivity is easy. The only thing is that how do we understand and spend time with you in your data governance? Because it's not as simple as you giving me a table and saying, go crazy. Companies have 300 tables, 500 data tables. So we sit with the team and we say, listen, tell us what your data looks. Let's work together. So, with one of our customers, we spent 3 months just working through their data so that the agent can work.
So,
Easy.
Hamza, let me ask you a contrarian question, right? So, one of the fascinating things about Gen AI has been the rapid adoption, or I should say, ease of access, in a way that even machine learning, I've worked on machine learning products, it is only accessible to a privileged few. The data science teams and few people are under it. Here you can put ChatGPT on on anybody's hands and watch the adoption grow. And it also has been probably one of the fastest in terms of crossing the bridge from consumer to enterprise, right? So all of these players now have an enterprise version, or they have a Teams version, right? Whether it's Perplexity or OpenAI or any of these other players, they have a Teams version, enterprise version. So it's the fastest time that we're seeing in terms of some of these B2C products make it to enterprise. So if you contrast that with kind of your product offering, where I understand the need for awareness, the need to sit down with the customer and need to make them understand what use case they're trying to solve for. Are you concerned that it's going to slow you down in terms of your growth and adoption? Or is that the nature of the product that you have versus products that you just put in their hands and say, go try this, go build something with it, let it break. Is that something that concerns you?
I want to see this. I want to add value to my customers. I'm not VC funded. I'm not in a race to get to 5 million, 10 million. Yes, I would love for us to get there. Do we like, I'll give you something that came out a couple of days a week ago. This is Insider said that Lovable ARR is 40% down, right? Bolt is down, VO is down. Why are they down? Because there's a huge hockey stick where you get immense funding and then it falls short. Why does it fall short? It's very simple. There's a huge network effect to understand what your customers want, but then after that, very quickly what happens is that those things fall short. So we are saying, you know what, we're here for the longer run. I want to work with 10 customers where I'm adding a lot of value and they see us as their data science agent team, and we want to grow our product from there. So can we solve a problem first that requires us to spend time? But this is the problem of, this is what I know best. That's the problem.
Right.
I've never been a consumer guy. Like, I've never built B2C products, like you build one product, you get, 10 million users on it. I don't think our product Olive will get 10 million users because we probably won't make it into a consumer product to begin with. We want to focus on B2B and we want to solve that problem.
Yeah, I was talking about adoption in general, but your point on adding value is taken. So what is the end state here? So if a customer deploys Olive and it works out really great for them, what's the outcome that they can expect?
So the outcome they can expect is basically immediate answers to their insights and answers to their questions, on which takes forever otherwise. So for instance, I would say build me a forecasting model. You will see a forecasting come to life in the next 15 minutes based on the best code, or the industry best practices code, so that you are not worried about, hey, did it hallucinate or did it just build a subpar model for me, and it just uses something very basic.
So what does that translate into? Does that translate into less time to build models, reduce cost? What does that translate into
It's
from your
literally
experience?
all of the above. Productivity gains, very little time to get to your answer. Number two, there's a gap in skill set. You're a product manager. You don't know how to build data science models. Now you're equipped with this technology because your company cannot hire a data scientist for $200,000 a year. You have a product that is running for you that can do all those things in the blink of an eye, right? And blink of eye is a 15-minute blink of the eye, but the idea is that it's immensely shorter and you can converse with the system. So again, number one, productivity gain. Number two, skill set that the team does not have. Number three, the impact is that there's a huge ROI that we usually don't talk about. Hey, what's the ROI? I don't want to talk about productivity gains or skill set
Right.
gap. There is value that we are seeing. Like our first customer who used this product, they had a ROI within 3 months of getting this product up and running. The
Yeah.
value it added to them was so immense that they were like, listen, we need this product to continue with us.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the holy grail, right? Eventually, for a lot of B2B products, in as the case. So how do people access this product? Where do they sign up? Do you guys have a try and buy kind of an offer or pilots that you offer? So how do we access this
we
product? How do we
we
learn
offer
more?
we offer pilots. We basically say, hey, you can go to our website. Our website is oliveos.ai, or you can go to our website. Just contact us. We'll be in touch within 24 hours. In less than 1 week, we'll have a pilot program running for you. Because the most important thing is that this is not a consumer product that if you work for Google, you can upload a data set and say, run for me. This product requires us to tell you that how we are handling your data, and what are the different policies behind it. For some customers, we are deploying it on their ecosystem because they don't want their data to be even moved out of their ecosystem.
Right. Yeah, I was about to say that. I mean, this
Yeah.
is data. It's as sacred as it goes. So there's going to be a lot of questions, I'm sure, for you and your team before they even
Yes.
let you in through the door.
Yes.
So
And the
working with the
first thing is,
customer becomes important. Yeah.
yeah, and the first thing we say is, you know what? We remove, like, we'll just run it on your ecosystem. We can run it on your LLM. So that sort of adds a lot of value on the feedback from the customer for that purpose.
Okay. And how do you guys price this? Is this per agent pricing model, or is it depends on the use cases or the number of uh, simulations or forecasts that the agent is building?
We're looking at the capabilities that we offer. So basically, we do pricing by, hey, you want forecasting capability, you can do unlimited forecasting capabilities as long as it's your LLM. You can run whatever forecasting you want. If you want to have another thing you want to have, anomaly detection, this is what. So we're trying to offer them by the product, by the part what's most important to them. And for most of our customers, forecasting is the most important thing. So we are offering that out of the box as the first product.
Got it. It's mission critical, it's table stakes, so that makes a lot of
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
Hamza, last question for you is, so I mean, as somebody who's been on the journey with data, machine learning, AI, who's built, who's taught, and who's selling AI, what is the advancement of AI? What has surprised you the most? Is there one thing that has really surprised you the most about AI, especially what's happened over the last couple of years?
So I have a good answer and a bad answer, I think. The good answer is I'm really surprised by the speed of advancements. And the second thing is I'm really surprised by the stupidity and the lack of knowledge of people, of masses on this, which basically I'm referring to the fact, like, is that there's this thing about always being humble and, saying that I don't know. It's okay to say I don't know. But the fact that, like, there are a lot of the people out there who have not written a single line of code, and they don't intend to, and they seem to know more than you do.
That's true.
And this is the one of the toughest things to break through. I believe a podcast should have some controversial tone. This is where I spend a lot of time pushing back and making people unlearn what they have learned before, because what they are learning or what they think they know is incorrect to begin with.
Yeah. And there's vibe coding, there's AI influencers, and there's
Yes.
AI experts. And honestly, I have a hard time telling who's who a lot of
Yeah.
times.
I mean, because everybody's, like, if you look at the name of the courses on Maven, everyone is AI agent, AI bootcamp, I mean, even ours is the same. We're thinking about changing it again. But to be very fair, that's what's selling, and people have to adhere. Like, it's almost, a lot of courses are switch. Like, a lot of products, they look exactly the same now. So sometimes, like, you don't know whether you're on VO or Bolt or Replit. Like, basically, except for the brand, everything is becoming exactly the same.
Yeah.
So
And the likes of Cursor are using Claude, right? And then, so it's like a Claude wrapper essentially,
yes,
right?
exactly,
You could
exactly.
say. Yeah.
And within that space, people have a lot of FOMO, insane FOMO. Like, I wrote this article 2 years ago about, like, I decided not to check in about what's happening in the world for like 5 days.
Mhm.
And then I read somewhere on my phone that, they introduced something called rope, which could extend the context length of the LLM from 2000 to 16,000. And I was so impressed by it. I just went all out, and, I spent my entire next 3 hours just going through that in detail. So I'm a victim. Like, while I do produce content, I'm also a part of that ecosystem where I'm a victim of it. And I'm like, if I don't stay up to date, I can't post content that is up to date. If I
Yeah.
don't post content, then I'm not relevant anymore. If I'm not relevant anymore, I'm not going to get customers and students, people to enroll in my course. It's a trickle down economy of influencer problems.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell people, don't worry about the latest fanciest thing. Let me teach you the basics, right? So
Yes.
they're
And
not.
that's why I built the course. I said, you know what? There's a lot of noise out there. I promise you, I will not teach you everything, but I promise you, I'll teach you enough so that you have one direction of actually building something.
Yeah. But the fascinating thing for me is how non-builders can become builders finally,
Yes.
right? I think the bridge or the gap between your idea and a product has never been shorter. And if you're willing to learn the
Absolutely.
basics and do some courses, including yours, we can actually at least get to prototyping of products and get them in hands of customers, get some feedback. So I think that maybe not production grade, right? But at least that gap is bridged, and I think it's leveled the playing field, to borrow a term, for a lot of people who've been sitting on the sidelines saying, I have a business idea. I don't know how to go about it. Right.
Absolutely.
So I think that's for me been a really positive takeaway.
I think that is the biggest thing. Like, basically, what I teach people is that I'm going to help you bring your idea to life. So I have two courses. I have one course which is, bringing your idea to life from 0 to 1, and the other one is 1 to 100. The 1 to 100 is, you already know what drag is. You have worked on coding, But let's just take us to what we do for production grade stuff. That's the 1 to 100 course. The 0 to 1, believe it or not, is more difficult, because what you have to do is I have to push you to get yourself equipped with N8Ns of the world and, lovable and so on and so forth. And then it's so amazing when things come to life, because we have people who have looked into these projects, and they have built something so amazing. That is, you look at them, you're like so impressed. You're like, wow, you've been thinking about it, and now you're bringing life to it. And that's, I think, the gap is, as you said, it's never been short.
Yeah, I suppose for teaching, that's also has to be one of the many positives, right? Seeing your students bring their ideas to life. I think that must be a fulfilling experience. So with that, Hamza, how do we reach out to you if folks are interested? How do they contact you? On online social media, what's the best way for folks to reach out?
I think my LinkedIn is the best way. Once you land on my LinkedIn page, you will know everything that you need to do.
And you also have a Substack newsletter and blogs. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. I almost forgot about it. So what I do is that I'm always running free courses over there. One of the things that I want to do at the end of the year is do live course. Like, I will set it up on Zoom and broadcast it on YouTube. That's something that I really want to do this year at some point. But right now, what we have is we have a huge. I think I have 12,000 plus followers on Substack. So we basically, whatever we teach, we build an open source version of it, and we release them on Substack with video recordings of our lightning lessons and things, so and so forth.
Yeah, the writing lesson has to be one of the best products I've seen launched, because it does give you a nice preview trailer, and then you're hooked,
Yep.
man. And then you want to
Yep.
come back to the whole course.
It's the best hook possible.
All right. So we got to give credit to Gagan and team there. So Hamza, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and there's so much learning and unlearning from this conversation. Congrats again on making it to Lenny's list, and wishing Traversal .ai and Olive and Agent Operating System all the very best.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. Thank you for having me.